For this project, I'm going to be using one of the Dollar Tree cutting boards that was sold during spring 2022. And I am going to be painting the outer part using this light gray paint. I will be applying some light pressure as I paint it using this small brush. Now this middle part, I'm going to be using just plain white paint, and I am going to just try to cover a lot of these graphics that are on it. This is not going to be a perfect paint job. This is simply going to be covering all these graphics. And that is it. Now for the next step, I am going to be using this 100% cotton white fabric. I did purchase this at Joann's. I will be cutting 2 squares that will cover this middle part that was just recently painted white. Now you may notice that the cutting board that I'm using to measure this fabric is not painted, and that is because I'm using a second one that I had in my stash, and the reason why I'm using it is because the other one is just drying. Now I'm going to be cutting and shaping this fabric so that it may fit directly inside that white square. Now I'm going to be folding this fabric and marking it with some pressure so that I could mark the middle of it. As you could see, there's a line now on there, and I am going to be using some washi tape to tape it on one side of the line that I pressed on. Now friends, I want you to hear me out. This part of the project, I made it more difficult for myself simply because I did not have the correct size tape. So I was using what I had on hand, which was the washi tape, and as you could see, the thicker blue painter's tape. Now all I wanted to do was to do a middle thin line, and I wanted my lines to gradually be thicker as they went out. So if you have the correct tape, I will recommend that you use it, whichever kind of lines you want to do, but this is just me working with what I had on hand. Now I am using a makeup sponge just to tap on, dab my paint on my fabric. And this is the best part, honestly. The best feeling of all is when you remove that tape and you get those crisp lines. It's just, to me, the best feeling, honestly. So as you can see, I'm working that tape, and I am creating a pattern just so that I could have my lines being painted on. And friends, if you are not part of this page, and if this is your first time watching, I want to welcome you, and I hope that you're enjoying this project. It does turn out really cute, and I will just encourage you to subscribe to this channel by pressing the subscribe button and also pressing the little bell that is directly next to it, so you will not miss any of the projects that will be uploaded in the future. And this is it. My lines are on, and I still love it. Now I am going to be distressing the board by just using a dry brush and using some white paint to distress the outer edges. Now to my fabric, I am going to be removing some of the strings so that I could just have also a distressed piece of fabric. I think it just gives this fabric a nice edging. And as you can see, this is the fabric I did not paint on. So this is the plain white square that I'm doing this on. Now I'm going to be hot gluing this non-painted fabric onto my middle square, the one that I was just painted. I'm going to be hot gluing this fabric onto that, just in the corners. And here comes the painted fabric. I'm going to be now making a hem on each side of this square. And as you can see, I'm just using my hot glue to make this little hem on every side of this square. Alright you guys, now this part I don't want you to miss. Notice that I'm using kind of like an accordion style folding for the very top part of this fabric. Notice what notice carefully how I'm going to be folding it, and all it does is that it gives this fabric a nice finish up on the top, as if it was nicely folded in. Now, to add even more cuteness, I am just going to be hot gluing a piece of ribbon, also purchased from the Dollar Tree, on the opposite direction. And now let's go ahead and attach both of these squares. One is going to be smaller than the other. Obviously the top one is going to be smaller than the other, and that is so that it could allow the nice edging that we did on the other part to show. Now I will be reusing the thumbtacks that it came with, and I am going to be pressing each one of those on each of the four corners just to give it a nice finish. Now I'm going to be filling in my little pocket with some nice flowers. Now I'm taking some lamb's ear from Walmart. I'm taking also some lavender and some tulips from the Dollar Tree, and some boxwood that I had left over. Now for my last step, I will be adding a bow, a very simple bow, and a wooden flower decal that was also purchased from the Dollar Tree. Now I did not record this step, but I did add some wooden beads at the handle of this cutting board. Now I hope that you like this project and you give it a thumbs up. This turned out really pretty.